Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
It's the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Prograis.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 384 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined as ever by former heavyweight world title challenger Mr. Fast Eddie Chambers. Eddie, how you doing this week, my man?
I'm doing good, my man. How about you?
Always good when speaking with you, Eddie. That is the truth. Let's dive straight into the review part of the show. We're going to start here with a card that took place last Friday, February 17th at the York Hall Bethnal Green, live on BT Sport. Let's start with the undercard. Royston Barney-Smith with another first round knockout. He seems to be on a bit of a run now. I think he must be on about 3 in a row. Again, it wasn't expected to end that early. He just keeps doing this though. Royston Barney-Smith now 5-0 with 3 KOs, and like I say, 3 in the first round, all in a row now. A knockout this time against Lester Lara, who's now 17-16 with 2 draws. Also on the card, Chris Bulk with a win as well, a TKO for him in round 3. He's now 11-1. Darwin Martinez, his opponent, was TKO'd there. He's now 7-10 with 2 draws. Martinez down once in round 2 and twice in the third and final round. Good really for Chris Bulk to return to winning ways, obviously. Again, I thought this one probably would go the distance, but no, he did well to get the knockout win. And yeah, he was coming off that loss last time out to Mark Leach about just under a year ago, so it's good, like I say, for him to get back in there, get back to winning ways. That was what it was all about for him, and he did it. And yeah, it was quite impressive because Darwin Martinez was a big puncher himself, and he'd gone the distance in about 7 losses in a row going into this. So to get him out of there, you know, he seemed like a tough, durable guy, and Chris Bulk has done well there, I think, to pick up a win in that fashion. Elsewhere on the card, Carl Fowl as well, another guy to mention, now 8-0, a points win for him over 6 rounds against the teak tough Serge Ambomo. That one was just, you know, easy to predict really. Serge Ambomo very hard to stop, and Carl Fowl not really a puncher, so now 8-0. Like I say, points win there over 6 rounds for Carl Fowl. Elsewhere on the card, we saw Henry Turner move to double figure wins, 10-0, a TKO for him in round 7 against Zeus Diarmas, who's now 15-3 with a draw. It was for the WBC International Silver Super Lightweight title. Henry Turner seems to be a prospect that I'm now going to be keeping my eye on. I think he's out of the iBox gym. They rate him really highly, and he looked really, really good. Again, he's picked up a few stoppages in recent times, and yeah, it seemed like he had a real bag of tricks. I'm definitely going to be watching from now on. Mark Chamberlain as well, now 12-0, a knockout for him in round 5 of a scheduled 10 against Italy's Vero Lenti, who was not undefeated. He'd never been stopped, and he's now been stopped for the first time. He's now 10-5 with a draw. Again, I thought Mark Chamberlain could potentially win this on points, but he did well to get this man out there. It was for the IBF European lightweight title. Lenti TKO'd by a big shot, a one-punch left hook to the chin. Yeah, it was a brutal KO actually. Brilliant shot from Mark Chamberlain, probably the best punch he's thrown of his career. And the main event, David Adelaide now 11-0 with 10 KOs, a TKO for him in round 2 against the undefeated Dimitro Bezus, who's now lost his O. He's now 10-1. It was for the vacant WBO European heavyweight title. I'm guessing that maybe will get Adelaide a world ranking with a WBO there at heavyweight. Bezus as well down in the first round, and then once prior to the stoppage in round 2. You know, I kind of expected it. I thought Adelaide would win by knockout. Obviously, he'd only been the distance at one time with a very, very tough Kamil Sokolowski. So even though I didn't know too much about this guy, he was a bit of an unknown quantity to some degree, I still felt that Adelaide would probably be able to get him out of there. You know, a guy much older than him who hadn't really done anything really to prove he was going places, so good stuff for him. Moving out now to the Porsche Arena in Stuttgart. Over here we saw Felix Sturm move to 43-6 with 3 draws, a unanimous decision win for him over 10 rounds against Sukru Alte, who's now 15-3. Didn't see the fight. Moving out now to the Nottingham Arena. This one took place on Saturday, of course, live on DAZN. Let's start with the undercard. Over here we saw Sam Maxwell moved to 17-1, a points win for him over 6 rounds against Sean Cooper, now 13-5. That opened up the card. But elsewhere on the undercard, Kieran Conway as well. I thought he might actually get the stoppage against Jorge Silva, but no. Once again, he goes to the distance there. 8th round unanimous decision for Kieran Conway, now 19-3 with a draw. Again, good for him to return back to winning ways after losing to Amo Williams last time out. Jorge Silva now 21-8. Gamal Yafai, this was a little bit of a shock. He's now 19-3. He lost unanimously against Diego Ruiz, now 24-6 with a draw. Again, we knew Ruiz. He'd been over here in the past, fought Michael Conlon. I'm not sure, maybe that one actually might have took place somewhere in Ireland, but yeah, you know, he'd come over and fought Lee McGregor as well, so very seasoned. And Gamal was coming off a bit of inactivity, I guess, and I said it before, this one always, for me, was going to be going the distance. Gamal had to be on his A-game to win, but obviously we saw straight away when he was knocked down in the second round that things were not going to be easy. Then he's down again in round 3. I think a couple of those early ones were probably just more so balance issues, but again, he was losing these. They were real knockdowns. And then he goes down again, of course, in round 10. And I guess over the duration of the fight, really, he took a hell of a beating. And yeah, it did go the distance, but obviously a big upset win there for Diego Ruiz. Amazing for him. I jumped on that in play as well. Obviously, after the first, I think, 2 knockdowns, he was still an underdog to win the fight, which I thought was crazy. And as the fight progressed, the odds obviously got hammered in, and in the end, he was a clear winner. It wasn't even close. He won wide. Gamal Yafai as well. I think they were at one point going to throw the towel in the corner, but they didn't. And somehow, God knows how, he managed to actually get through the fight. Like I say, his face was an utter mess, and it's really derailed him, I think, you know, because he showed his level when he lost handily to Jason Cunningham, and you know, I think that showed his ceiling, and then he's out for a while, comes back, I think maybe with a win against a low-level guy, then gets in with Diego Ruiz and loses in this fashion. So for me, it kind of tells you that maybe, I don't want to be harsh, but maybe retirement is something he should consider, you know, because he hasn't had a fantastic career. 31 years of age now, which I guess is kind of, you know, old for a super bantam. And yeah, like I say, hasn't really, I think they maybe could have moved him a bit better, you know, when you look back in hindsight. I don't think he's had the easiest of paths, but yeah, I just think, you know, he's just not as good as his brother Cal Yafai, obviously, and probably not as good as his other brother Galal, you know. So yeah, anyway, they're a talented trio, but he's probably, unfortunately, the one at the bottom of that pile. Anyway, moving on. Siobhan Clark as well. He goes a distance. He's now 5-0. He goes a distance for the first time there against Israel Dufus, who was 20-8 with 17 KOs and 4 stoppage losses. So I thought that Clark would win, but I guess in the end it's good to bank those 10 rounds because they were a really, really valuable 10 rounds. And Dufus is actually a much better fighter than I thought he would be. You know, he hit Clark with a few good shots. You could see he was definitely heavy-handed. Dufus as well was down twice in round 6, once in round 7, and then once in round 10. So yeah, quite a mad fight. But you know, Clark yeah, had to dig deep, got quite tired late on. And yeah, I guess answered a few questions, really. You know, it's good when you see a guy go the distance for the first time. And, you know, just in his 5th fight there, he's gone 10 rounds. Not many people can say they've done 10 rounds in their 5th fight, you know. And I think he did them considerably well, considering he was in there with a guy that could punch. And although he got caught with a couple shots here and there, it wasn't really anything to say he was in trouble. So I think that was a fantastic learning fight for him. And it's a plus for me, really, in terms of his progression. Gary Cully with, I think, the only knockout shown on the telecast, at least. He's now 16-0, a knockout of the previously undefeated 10-0 with 1 draw Wilfredo Flores. 2nd round TKO for Cully. Flores as well cut in round 1, down in round 2. It was for the vacant WBA Intercontinental Lightweight title. It was just over very quickly, to be honest with you. You can't read too much into it. It's more kind of all about Gary Cully at this stage, you know. I can't really tell you much about the fight in terms of it was great for his progression, it was great in terms of this was a really good fighter that he boxed. We didn't know much about the guy, and it didn't last long, so there's not too much to really say, other than it was a great win for Gary Cully. Picked up a belt in doing so. And, you know, I guess it's, like I say, just another spectacular win for him, another showcase win. And they're already talking about him being on that Katie Taylor undercard at home in Ireland, which I think it will be fantastic for his profile as well. 16-0, 10 KOs now, and that is 5 knockouts in a row, all within 5 rounds. So he's really, 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 proving to be quite a force. He's only 27 years of age, 6'2", southpaw lightweight. That's all you need to hear, and he can certainly crack as well. He's been proving, so he is in the form of his career at the minute, and there's no telling where it'll see him go. Elsewhere on the card, Dalton Smith, now 14-0, a unanimous decision for him against Billy Allington, who's now 10-2 with 4 draws. It was for the British super lightweight title. Allington down once in round 8. I think Smith suffered a cut late on. But yeah, Dalton Smith, obviously a much better fighter really than Billy Allington. A lot of people predicted the stoppage, so did I. I just thought Allington's just not a puncher at all, and, you know, Smith's not going to respect him. He's going to wear him down and probably stop him mid-rounds, I think my prediction was. But no, I think credit to Billy Allington. Obviously he was down in round 8, but, you know, to actually go to 10 rounds with Dalton Smith, I think you can take some kind of moral victory in there. But yeah, you know, Dalton Smith, not the best performance, you know. There's a hell of a lot of hype behind him. They're talking about him. They're talking about Adam Azim. It'd be a great fight. I mean, it probably doesn't make sense financially for both guys at the moment, but yeah, I think someone pointed out both guys have shown us not really a fantastic performance in concurrent weeks there. They've both had a fight, I think, this weekend and last weekend, or last weekend, the weekend before, I should be saying. And yeah, it hasn't really blown us away. Like, it's kind of been it's an okay victory, and that's what it was. I mean, he won every round pretty much here, Dalton Smith, so, you know, we can't moan too much. Same about Adam Azim, really, but, you know, we didn't see the stoppage that I think we all expected in both the fights, and both guys had their opponents down but were unable to finish them. So there's a lot of similarities there. And moving up to the main event, Lee Wood now 26-3. He was TKO'd against Mauricio Lara. Mauricio Lara now 26-2 with a draw. He's the new WBA World Featherweight Champion. Wood cut in the first round, by the way. I think it was a head clash, though, and obviously down prior to the stoppage in round 7. Going to run through the fight just really, really briefly. I felt that Lara probably nicked maybe the first round. Lee Wood, though, started to really dominate, I think, after that. I think his jab was excellent and he used his size really well. I made a point last time we did the show last week saying that even though they might have even been listed as the same height, I don't think they didn't look the same height to me anyway in the ring. Lee Wood looked a hell of a lot bigger than Maurizio Lara, but obviously Maurizio Lara has that power to make up for his lack of size. But I think Lee Wood actually used his size very, very well throughout the fight, even though it wasn't like a case of it wasn't a jab fest. He wasn't trying to keep him behind the jab. He wasn't trying to use his size in terms of throw his weight over him and bully him. It wasn't like that. It was very much stood in the center of the ring, but I think he picked his shots quite well and he used his jab, which obviously was very important against a guy like Lara. So yeah, I think Lee Wood was in control really, and I was a bit worried because I backed Lara for the knockout win, and I was a little bit worried through the first maybe 3, 4, 5 rounds that we weren't going to see a knockout from Lara, because again, obviously I wanted Lee Wood to win being a Brit, but I actually had bet on Lara to win by knockout. I thought the money on that, the price on that was really hard to pass up, and I thought, wow, Lee Wood seems like he's got this in the bag. Lara just didn't look like the same fighter I'd seen previously, and I thought, wow, what's gone on with him? He just doesn't look the same guy. And I think I found out that he maybe hadn't made the weight for like 2 years or something like that, or maybe 3 years. So that was something that I thought, oh, okay, that maybe makes a bit of sense as to why he doesn't quite look the same fighter that he'd been previously, because previously he hasn't strictly had to make the weight properly. But yeah. Anyway, he did get the stoppage, and it was just, an excellent shot there. I think it was a big left hook. Obviously, there was 10 seconds left in the round, but Ben Davison made the split-second decision to throw the towel in and save his fighter. He has said that he didn't hear the 10-second clapper, and I can understand that, being caught up in the moment like he would have been. Obviously, there's people that are sitting at home, they can see the timer on the TV, 12 seconds, 11 seconds, 10 seconds, and they're saying, oh, there was only 10 seconds left, he shouldn't have done that. But obviously, if he didn't hear the 10-second clapper, he doesn't know how long's left in the round. And if you don't know how long's left in the round, then it's definitely the right thing to do to stop the fight. Even if there was only a matter of seconds left in the round, still it was probably the right time to stop the fight. No complaints from me about the corner stoppage from Ben Davison. But what I will say is, yeah, I was impressed with Lee Wood for as long as it lasted, and obviously for him, it was a huge shame for it all to come crashing down there with one punch in a fight that he was dominating. I think Eddie's actually a word I'd use, but I know you saw it. What did you make of it?
Oh man, it was a very interesting fight. I like what Lee Wood was doing early on, but you seen and I can't remember what round, maybe it might have been in the first, Lara land some heavy shots, and you could see that, yeah, it's one of those situations where you're watching the fight and it just looked like, even though Lee Wood was doing so well, it started, and I know you were saying it was like, I didn't think the stoppage was coming, but it was kind of something that I didn't necessarily know if he was going to stop him or not, but I just felt eventually he would get into a position where he may hurt him, you know what I mean, and get him in trouble, maybe start to, turn the tide a little bit his way. It just seemed like it was just a matter of time for that to happen. I mean, I'm not saying that Lee Wood couldn't, box him to a decision, because, I mean, that very well could have happened, but it just always had that feel like, especially when he landed some of those big shots on him in some of those rounds, that it seemed like it was gonna come. Although though, Lee Wood was really doing well, and even landed some nice power shots and got some respect. You know what I mean? He made him put some respect on it. You know what I mean? While he was in there, and I mean, it was an exciting, interesting kind of matchup with the contrast of styles and things like that. It was really good. That kind of fight I would like to see again. I would like to see that kind of fight all the time. There was good skills and everything involved with it. It wasn't just like a slugfest where you couldn't take where there was no substance or nothing you could take from it. It was interesting. It was a good back and I don't want to say necessarily back and forth. I thought Lee Wood was controlling the fight up until the time of the stoppage, and it was one hell of a shot that he caught him with. As far as the stoppage, I'm never going to argue with the corner when he stops it, regardless of what it is. I'm never going to argue it was something that they see. They know their guy. You understand what I'm saying? They know their guy. There's no reason that someone would come up there and and stop the fight knowing that their guy has a chance to win. You know what I'm saying? If they didn't think it was really something going on and something that they couldn't control happening in there, and their guy was just on the bad end of it. I think if he saw a reason to stop it, it was a great stoppage. I have no argument. I think if, like I said, he knows his guy. He's a good trainer. He's been at the top training guys for a while now. He knows when his guy is not capable of finishing. And then Lee Wood, from what I'm understanding, listening to Carl Froch, said that he was done. So even he didn't complain about it. So it's unfortunate that it happened that way. And I thought Lee Wood was doing really well, but the stoppage had to happen. And I'm proud. I'm happy to see that Davidson came out there and stopped that fight, and not being one of those brave corners that let their guy get pounded when he's really in a way defenseless. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Moving on now to the Cow Palace in Daly City, California, USA over here. Ronald Gavril with a majority decision win over 8 rounds against Kaynell Wheeler, now 7-3, but Gavril's 23-3. It was for the vacant WBC Continental America's light heavyweight title, so a close fight there. Also on the card, another close fight. Andy Vences now 23-4 with 2 draws. A technical draw. I say close. A bit premature of me. I didn't realise it was a technical draw. First round, I'm guessing must have been a head clash or an injury or something. Yeah, but a technical draw there against Christian Rubamino, who's now 23-7 with 3 draws. Also on the card, he returned to winning ways after losing last time out. Evan Holyfield. He is now 10-1, a TKO for him against Terence Jarman in round 1. Jarman now 3-3. Evan Holyfield back to winning ways. Moving out now to the Fox Theatre in Pomona, California over here. It was live on DAZN. It was right after the Lee Wood card, so they had 2 good shows actually on Saturday evening, and I'm going to hold my hands up and say I completely didn't tune into this one, so I don't know if you did, Eddie. I'm guessing you probably didn't, but we have let the fans down, I think, because I was raving about how good of a fight the main event was probably going to be, and from what I've heard, it was a good fight, but I missed all of it. The main event, Luis Nery now 34-1. He was able to KO in round 11. Azat Hovhannissian now 21-4. I actually thought Luis Nery would win on points over 12 rounds, but for him to get the stoppage was quite impressive, and for him to get it in round 11 was quite unexpected. He becomes the first man to stop Hovhannissian. Hovhannissian cut under the right eye from a punch in round 3, down in round 10, and then stopped on his feet in round 11. That's a brilliant win there for Nery, by the way. A lot of people actually fancied Hovhannissian to get the job done. Also on the undercard, Shane Mosley Jr. now 19-4. He was able to beat unanimously over 10 rounds Mario Alberto Lozano, who's coming off that big layoff about 3 or 4 years when he last fought, when he got knocked out by Liam Smith. He's now 33-11. But anyway, that's it for the review part of the show. We've flown through that as quick as possible. It's now time to welcome this week's special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former WBO Super-Bantamweight champion of the world. It is, of course, the Royal Storm, Mr. Isaac Dogboe. Isaac, welcome back on the show, my man.
Thank you, Joey. How have you been? It's been a minute.
It has been a minute, man. We last spoke in July 2021, so over a year and a half ago. I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. I can't believe it's been that long. At the time when we last spoke, you were fresh off your win over Adam Lopez. Since then, you fought twice. You picked up 2 wins, Christopher Diaz and Joet Gonzalez, both on points. How have things been, my man?
God's special grace, man. Everything has been excellent, Thankful to God, thankful to my family, and thankful for how things are going.
And how is life now? I'm sure you're now fully adjusted to life in DC.
Yes, everything. Look, I can't complain. Honestly, I cannot complain. God has been so good, and the place too has been so good to me. So I'm blessed.
And your next fight's been announced. April the 1st is the day in Tulsa, Oklahoma, against the 2016 Olympic gold medalist Robeisy Ramirez. Robeisy didn't really have the best start to his pro career, obviously losing in his first fight, but he seems to have turned it around now. Not many people want to step in the ring with this man. Obviously, you've took the fight. What made you run towards him when others run away from him, Isaac?
Well, if you say not many people want to fight him, which and who are the many people?
I don't know. I feel like he's avoided.
I don't think that there are many people. People are out there. When the opportunity presents itself, I'm sure they will take it. And he was never presented to me before, and I never avoided. So I wouldn't say many people avoided him. Hey, listen, he's achieved so much. Congratulations to him. In the amateurs, but he's a pro, and he's doing well. Look, we love a challenge, and we take it one fight at a time. Whoever comes, we say yes, and we just go out there and perform. That's all it is.
Obviously, fighters who had successful amateur careers, like you touched on, he was a successful amateur, they're able to move quicker than others when they turn professional. For him to fight you as well, I want to look at it from this other angle as well, for him to fight you in just his 13th pro fight, obviously I know there's a title on the line, so he kind of has to take the fight, but this is a massive step up for him as well. He's boxed no one near your level yet. Do you give him credit for stepping in with you as well?
Oh yeah, of course. Look, you give credit to every man that steps in the ring with you, regardless of their record. I've never overlooked a man, and I'm not overlooking Robeisy Ramirez either. So look, he's a good fighter, but hey, this is the big boys, So I'm really looking forward to this fight, seeing what he's bringing to the table, because I know what I'm bringing to the table, and I'm looking to, by God's special grace, walking out of the ring as a new WBO featherweight champion.
And Isaac, how many options did you have on the table before this fight come up? Obviously, you're a former world champion. You'd have thought that a lot of guys want to fight you because of that. But has it been hard getting opponents recently?
I would like to say yes, because there's been a couple of guys top rank at the time had spoken to a few people, and always it never really seems to fall through. They talked to Eddie Hearn about me fighting some of his people, some of his champions, and they always seem to be occupied or preoccupied, with other fights. But look, it is what it is. I just had to just take my time and, just go through the motion and wait for my time to come and wait for whoever they present to me. So when they mentioned Robeisy Ramirez, at the time, obviously I was number 1 contender for the WBO and number 2 contender for the WBC. And Brandon Figueroa was number 2 for the WBO and number 1 for the WBC. So it was kind of like, switched over between the two organizations. The WBC route wanted me to fight another eliminator, whereas the WBO route had a world title, straight away. So we took the WBO route.
Yeah, that makes sense, of course. And as you say there, you've had to be patient. You've had to take your time. Obviously, you've had to wait a long time, really, for this opportunity. It's been 4 years now since you were last able to say you're a reigning world champion. April the 1st, you get the chance to become a 2-time 2-weight world champion. I don't feel like you ever really lack motivation, but surely this is the opportunity you've been waiting for all this time. This is such an important fight for you now.
Yes, yes, and also to add a little to what I said earlier on, you know, before the fight was contracted, obviously my contract with Top Rank had come to an end. You know, because obviously I had been with Top Rank for like 4 years, and you know, my contract with Top Rank came to an end, and on I believe September of last year. So it was a big decision to take, because I was also looking at the options of, whether to go back to the UK or whether to stay here and, to see how I was gonna really execute the next fight or the next step of my boxing career. So I mean, taking the world title fight, I just thought it was, look, there's opportunity for me to become a two division world champion, and after almost 5 years, this is like is a big opportunity once again, and I believe that was like God made or God sent, and we took it. I thought about it, I prayed about it, and I agreed to fight, and yeah. So April 1st, when I come out victorious, it will be another historic moment, and it will be one that I'm very, very proud of. Given the fact that God has really kept me grounded, and after all these years, I'll be it will be an excellent win.
Yeah, and I want to also say as well, since we last spoke, those two wins I mentioned, Gonzalez and Diaz, obviously they've been splits and majority decisions. Is it fair to say that you'll need to be better than you were in those fights to ensure a victory against Ramirez, Isaac?
Of course. Every fight, has comes with its own challenges, and I know this fight I have to be my best, and I have to really go out there to execute. But every fight puts you onto the next step for the next fight, So, and I see from my previous fights that after every fight I'm constantly improving. There's always a small changes in the way I'm fighting. Because at this level, everyone is good. Everyone is sharp. Everyone is on top. Is on top of their game. So I have to be on top of my game against Robeisy Ramirez.
And Isaac, I know you probably wouldn't have fought too far in the future, but have you got any plan at all of what you would do after you become victorious April 1st?
Right now, we take it one fight at a time. Yeah. With the main focus on this fight. After, when God permits and I win this fight, the next thing will be to fight in the next champion, and that's our most the next stage. And I don't know who it will be. It could be Josh Warrington, because I don't know. I just feel like me fighting Josh Warrington will be like Toro Gatti and
Mickey Ward.
And Mickey Ward. I think will be really exciting. So yeah. But yeah, when I win this title, I'm looking to fight in other champions.
And talking of some other champions, obviously we've now got a new champion in the division after Saturday. Did you see Maurizio Lara knock out Lee Wood?
Yes, I did. I think, look, Lee Wood is a good fighter. Especially, how he got up to knock out McConlin, to win the title. I mean, he's a good fighter, and I mean, unlucky to him, but congratulations to Lara as well, because he's also another formidable fighter. And look, I mean, like I said, it's a fight game. It's a fight game, and our division, the featherweight division, is really it's getting heated up, and it's always exciting. So I'm looking forward to mixing up all these other great champions.
And my last real question for you, Isaac, and I don't mean to end it on a depressing note, but people listen to this podcast from all over the world, all continents, and I wanted to get your reaction, obviously, to the tragic loss of your fellow Ghanaian sportsman, Christian Atsu, in the horrific earthquake. If you have one, obviously heartbreaking stuff, real heartbreaking for the nation.
Yes. I mean, look, Christian was a great guy. I believe the last time we spoke was January, really and truly, just in the new year, and it was just about I think I must have posted something, you commenting about it. I mean, and over the years we do talk from time to time, and he'd be like, yo, he wants to come and watch me fight one of these days, and so I mean, I was so hopeful, when they said the earthquake had happened and they were looking for people. I was actually hoping that what he could be, because people had been missing for like 2 weeks and they were getting found and they were still okay, So I was actually like hoping that we'll get the good news that maybe he's fine, or something. But it's unfortunate that it happened that way. And listen, it's a tough thing to deal with, especially when one leaves their families, leave their home, and be like, hey, I'm going here, to work, to bring something home, to look after my family, and then you go, and then something tragic happens, and it's really tough. We can only remember his family in our prayers, and and that's all. And also try and be nice to each other, because it's the way of the world. 1 minute a person is here, the next minute the person is gone. So you just have to be kind to one another, because you never know when someone else is going to leave.
Yeah, well said. It's tragic, obviously. Rest in peace to him, and just goes to show you can't take life for granted. Just finally, before we let you go, Isaac, I know you love to close out our interviews with some excellent words of wisdom. If you have any right now for the listeners, let us know the latest words of wisdom. You always give us a lovely little pearl before you go.
Man, Joey, listen, bro, you always put me
put you on the spot.
But listen, I mean, look, we just have to keep on, we have to thank God every day, because that's the utmost utmost importance, is the most important thing that one can do. It doesn't matter what faith you are, you just have to. You have to be thankful, each and every day that you wake up out of bed, because life could be worse. If you think that you're struggling right now, it could be worse. So always just look on the bright side. Someone said that it's not the pain that ruins us; it's the things we try to avoid. We try to avoid. That's what ruins us. So. We have to just keep the word of God in our hearts, and love unconditionally, love each other, and forgive each other, and be thankful. That's all we can do.
There we
in our
go.
small ways.
There we go. Says a brilliant pearl of wisdom before we go every single time, does Isaac. Listen, Isaac, it's always a pleasure speaking with you, my man. Thank you for your time. And the next time I speak to you, I don't want to speak to a one-time world champion, but a two-time.
A two-time, two-division.
Two-time, two-division. There we go, my man.
Yes.
Neho, speak to you soon.
Neho. Yes, sir, brother. Yeah, you take care, yeah?
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, is the news part of the show. Only one piece of news to bring you this week. It's that on April the 15th in London, obviously on the undercard of Joe Joyce and Zili Zhang, we're going to see a female fight be the co-main event. And the co-main event is going to be Michaela Mayer making her debut at lightweight. She gets in with former 2-time junior welterweight champion Christina Linardatou. So it's going to be good to see Mikaela Mayer back in action for the first time since losing controversially to Alicia Baumgardner. Not only that, but obviously the fact that she's moving up in weight as well. It's going to be interesting. There's a lot of great fights that can be made at 135 for her. And obviously Linardatou as well. The fact that she's been in with Katie Taylor, went the distance and lost to her. Been in with Alicia Baumgardner, beat Baumgardner as well. That's the only lady to have beaten Baumgardner. There's a lot I think that we can read into here. Also, she lost to Delphine Passoon as well. So yeah, I mean, Mikaela Mayer should win on points as well, and it'll be good. It'll be good to see Mikaela Mayer back out. But yeah, if she beats Linardatou, you know she's going to be saying, "I've beaten the one girl that beat you," to Alicia. So you know that it's just a collision course. I think we're going to see that rematch at some point. It's just a matter of when. And that's it for the news. Moving on to the preview part of the show, we're going to start here with this one. It takes place at the Hilton Hotel Porto Masso in Malta. That's a place in Europe that I think I went to when I was a little kid. I'd like to go back someday actually, but anyway, the reason we're speaking about this one is because it's extremely random, but Dave Allen is on the card. He was supposed to fight last weekend. The fight fell through. He was devastated, but he was very happy moments later when they managed to pull some strings and get him on a card in Malta. So there we go. He's hopped on a plane. No opponent just yet for him, which makes me a little bit skeptical about, you know, if it's definitely going to go ahead. He's the only guy on the card that doesn't have an opponent, but hopefully it gets sorted. But at this stage, nothing to report. But anyway, Dave Allen, all the best to you. Friend of the show, friend of Eddie's, now currently 20-5 with 2 draws. Moving out now to the Armory in Minnesota, USA. This one's a really, really good one, actually. There's a few good fights, I think, here. It's going to be on Showtime, but let's start with the main event. Subriel Matias, 18-1 with 18 KOs, fights here for the vacant IBF World Super Lightweight title, a title that was recently vacated, I believe, by Josh Taylor. He gets in with Jeremias Ponce, who's 30-0 with 20 KOs. Now, obviously, we've spoke about Matias in the past, Eddie. I think you were saying something about one of his previous performances. Doesn't really matter, to be honest with you, but obviously brings the excitement. 18 KOs in his 18 wins. His one loss came to Petros Ananyan. I think we were talking about that fight when it happened. But good fighter is Matias. But he gets in with Jeremias Ponce, an Argentinian fighter who the Brits will remember. He come over here and fought Lewis Ritson and knocked him out in round 10. But, you know, he's a decent fighter. I think the record is a little bit padded, the fact that he's managed to get himself to 30-0, mainly fighting guys with losing records. But he showed us against Lewis Ritson that he's a really, really, really good fighter, man. He really brought it to Ritson and battered him, really, you know, at home in Newcastle. Since then, he's gone back to Argentina, I believe, and no, I'm wrong. He's gone to Germany and had 2 random fights in Germany, you know, against lower level guys. And here we go. He steps in with Subriel Matias. I think he's been biding his time since beating Ritson, getting world ranked. I think he's been biding his time because the world title shot was going to be imminent. And with, I think, Josh Taylor vacating, I believe he was always going to be fighting for a vacant title. I think he might have been ranked like number 1 or number 2, something like that. So anyway, long story short, should be a really good fight. Don't write off Ponce, though. I think we're probably not going to see the final bell, but it's going to be a good fight, I think, while it lasts. All the best to both guys. I don't really care who wins. Elsewhere as well on the undercard, we've got Elvis Rodriguez, 13-1 with a draw. The one loss was to friend of the show Kenneth Sims Jr., who was on a few months ago. Good guy. But this is a really good fight. So Elvis Rodriguez, like I say, 13-1 with 1 draw, 12 knockouts in his 13 wins. He gets in with Joseph Adorno, who's 17-1 with 2 draws, 14 KOs. So again, we could see a knockout in this one as well. So 2 fights there that it would appear we're going to see knockouts in. I think, it's going to be a good one there. And Joseph Adorno's quite a big underdog. I fancy his chances, to be honest with you. Also on the card, we're going to see Jamal James, 27-2, stepping in with Alberto Palmetta, who is 18-1. Jamal James, I feel like he's been quite inactive of recent times. I remember watching his last fight when he lost to Butayev. Hasn't boxed since then. That was about a year and a half ago. He gets in with this guy here, Alberto Palmetta, like I say, 18-1, on a decent little run as well, beating a few little kind of smaller name guys along the way. So yeah, I don't know if it's going to be a good fight or not, to be honest with you, but it's one to mention. And also we have Quadratilo Abdukukarov, who is 18-1 with 10 KOs, I believe. He steps in with, it's a bit of a banana skin really, but he steps in with Vaishon Owens, who, again, the reason why I'm saying it's a banana skin is he's another banger. There's a lot of guys that can punch on this card, and he is another one of them. 13 wins, 12 by KO, 3 losses. Only one time was he knocked out. Been in there with Alberto Puello, Chordal Booker, Sebastian Fundora was the only guy to have actually stopped him. But yeah, he can punch as well. So I think there's possibly going to be a few knockouts on this card. That's about it though for that one. And moving to the final card to mention, Eddie, I think I'm going to come to you for maybe 2 fights on this card. I'm going to talk about this one first. I won't come to you for this, but we're going to see a prospect called Bader Samreen, who is 7-0. It's an 8-rounder here. He gets in with Viral Simeon, who's 23-9. It's a shame, really, because Viral Simeon was, I don't want to say highly touted or anything like that. That would be a little bit of a stretch, but certainly highly respected. There was a period of time where he come through, he was undefeated and everything like that, lost his O to Lee Selby, there was no shame in that. Then he fought Scott Quigg, lost the fight to him as well, but obviously he went the distance with Selby and Quigg, 2 world champions. Then he got stopped by Shakur Stevenson in just 1 round back in 2018, and pretty much since then he's not been the same fighter. Since then, I'll even go as far to say that he's won 2 fights in his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and to win 2 fights in 7. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 fights in his last 8, and he's been stopped 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in those last 8 fights. So 2 wins, 6 losses since losing to Shakur Stevenson, and stopped 5 times. So yeah, it's definitely changed him. Most of the time he's been pulled out by his corner though, which is mad. In fact, every time he's been pulled out by his corner. So he must have a very, very soft corner, or maybe he's just got a password or a secret message that he does when he gets in the corner when he's had enough. Maybe he coughs or something like that, or scratches his head with his glove. There's something he's doing, I think, that they're stopping it in the corner, because he was pulled out in the corner by Samuel Molina, by Harlem Eubank, by Zelfa Barrett, by Gary Cully, by Samuel Molina again. He actually fought him twice. The first time, he didn't stop him, making a bit of a mess of this. And then Dennis Berenchik as well was another fight where he got pulled out in the corner. So yeah, he's had a torrid run, and he gets in with Bader Samreen, who is probably not a fantastic fighter, but this young guy, 7-0, 6 KOs. I think it's only going to go one way, just based off the record. Will Simeon give it a go, considering he actually won his last fight against an undefeated fighter? Possibly, but probably not. And moving on to the 2 bigger fights on the card. Let's go here first. This is a really interesting one, Eddie. The moment it got made, these are my kind of weird fights, and you know what I'm getting at. We're going to see Ilunga Makabu, 29-2, 25 KOs, putting his WBC World Cruiserweight title on the line against Badu Jack, 27-3 with 3 draws. This is my kind of fight. It's weird, it's more so a fight really for the hardcores than a lot of the people that's probably going to be tuning in for the main event, the YouTube fans. But it's just a weird fight. You've got Badu Jack, who, his last loss came to Jean Pascal back in December 2019. Since then, he's racked up 5 wins, 3 by KO, but they've been super low level. He's beat Blake McKernan, Dervin Kalina, Samuel Crost, Haney Atillo, and then in his very last fight, he was able to beat Richard Rivera. He took his O, but 95% of people believe that Rivera deserved the nod, and I was one of them. I think Badou Jack was extremely fortunate to get the decision last time out, which I should also mention was also in Saudi Arabia, where this fight's going to be. So yeah, he gets in with Makabu, but back to what I was saying, Badou Jack really and truly, for me, was, a career super middleweight. That's where I think he was at his best. Obviously, was a world champion there. And he moved up to light heavy, and I think, for me, he was never truly suited to light heavy. But he had his first fight at the weight on a Mayweather undercard, got in with Nathan Cleverly, who again, Nathan Cleverly was a good fighter, but for whatever reason, I mean, he never boxed again after that fight. He was terrible that night. He was absolutely terrible. He obviously got his paycheck being on a Mayweather undercard, and, he announced his retirement right after the fight, never boxed again, and he's, I don't know. He was awful that night, and I think Badou Jack, I don't want to say, yeah, he probably picked the right man, actually, to become a champion at light heavyweight. Become a 2-weight world champion. After that, obviously, gets in with Adonis Stevenson, and, credit to Badou Jack, because I think he boxed really well. Obviously, they end up drawing, but even to get in there with a puncher like Stevenson and to not go down was incredible for Badou Jack, who'd obviously been knocked out at super middleweight. And then, like I say, since then, his draw with Stevenson. Since then, loses to Marcus Brown, obviously, when he opened that horrific cut on Marcus. When Marcus Brown inflicted that horrific cut on Badou Jack's forehead. After that was the Jean Pascal fight, which I should mention as well was really his last proper fight, and he was down as well in that fight, but lost a split decision. It was close in the end. Like I say, that was December 2019. And then, he's had a bunch of meaningless wins. And then he got in with Richard Rivera. And this is what I'm saying. In this time, he's moved up to cruiserweight. So I never felt he was truly suited to 175, but he did well there. Credit to him. Moves up here 25 pounds at cruiserweight. I think his last maybe 2 or 3 or 4 fights have been at cruiserweight. But like I say, I don't think he should be at this weight at all. And he gets in here with Ilunga Makabu, who technically I don't think is, he's definitely not, cannot think of any boxer right now who's technically sound for some reason. He's not a Purnell, okay? But he can bang. He's big, and he's a true cruiserweight. And this, for me, Eddie, I'm going to say it, I think is a step too far for Badou Jack. I don't know if you agree or not. I was probably quite long while I was trying to, paint the picture of my point there, but I think this is a bit too far for Badou Jack. Let's not forget as well, he doesn't look it, but 39 years of age. I think he's the slightly taller man, which is a bit surprising. But gets in with Makabu. Makabu, a southpaw banger, and the power is real. On a really good run. Hasn't lost a fight since he lost to Tony Bellew back in 2016.
Yeah. I mean, this is a stretch. When I heard that he was moving up to cruiser, I was like, wow, really? Like, why? There's like a lot of people are like, okay, well, they want to make that pit stop at cruiserweight, and then obviously they think the next logical step from there is to heavyweight, and being the making it up there, getting that heavyweight money and that heavyweight everything else. I mean it sounds good, but in practice it's not always the best. And when you look at guys like Roy Jones Jr., he can do that. You look at guys like James Toney, they can do that, because those are some of the best boxers you'll ever see in life. And even when you talk about Holyfield, who came up from 175, and even Tomas Adamek, who done the same, they were still bigger men. You know what I mean? And had okay careers there, but were obviously suited to put on that weight. I don't know that Badou Jack really has that, nor does he have the ability that those guys did. I mean, I'm not knocking him. He's done well at the other weights. But this is a big step. And stepping in there with a guy like this who's a puncher, tough guy, legitimate, dangerous, opponent. Like you said, been on a great run recently, has been successful. It's really a difficult step for him to take, I think. You know what I mean? I kind of agree with you, Joe. It might be a little bit out of bounds for him. We'll see. And he's proven me wrong in the past, and fights that I didn't think he would win, and even being a world champion, I didn't know if he would ever really make it that far. And he's done it in 2 weights, which is great. Or he's been at that level in 2 weights, which is really, really good. So I guess I got to shut my mouth on that. But like you said, and also being 39, he's almost my age. Wow. It's going to be, it's going to be a bit of an uphill battle. You're in there with somebody who's really a live dog, a real tough opponent, and big puncher. And I've had a conversation with a guy who actually is a heavyweight that trained with that guy and sparred with him and said the power is definitely real. So it's a hell of a step he's taken. It's a dangerous fight, but then again, we also seen him in there with Stevenson, who was a huge puncher at 175, and he was able to deal with it. So, maybe, that's something he's better suited for than we think. But as it stands and how it looks, it's going to be a rough one for him. I hope he does well, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Obviously, I'd love to see Badou Jack win. He's a friend of the show, but I think it's a tough task. He's the underdog with the bookies for a reason. And yeah, never in a million years should he be up at 200 pounds against someone who can bang like this. But then again, I kind of said the same, when he moved from super middle to light heavy to take on Adonis Stevenson, but that was only a 7-pound increase. This is another 25 pounds from there. So yeah, I don't think he's got any business being in with Makabu, and up in age now. I just don't think he's been really taking boxing seriously in recent years, and he could end up paying the price here. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope he can somehow pull it out, but I expect him to probably get knocked out really by Makabu. Just trying to look here. What is the most expected outcome? The expected outcome is actually Makabu points, which I don't agree with. I think it's going to be, it will be Badou Jack points, I think, or Makabu knockout. I really don't see how. I don't think Makabu's going to get a decision in Saudi with Badou Jack. I mean, we saw last time. I think the guys out there really like Badou Jack. So anyway, we'll see. And then the main event, Eddie. I cannot believe we're actually discussing this. It's finally happening, but this is probably going to be the first time ever that we actually fully preview a Jake Paul fight. Jake Paul 6-0 gets in with Tommy Fury 8-0, 8 rounds here. You know what? I'm not really confident either way. And I'm going to say my piece first, because obviously you're going to come in and you're going to probably make more logical sense than I will, but. I'm split on how I see it going. Obviously, I understand everyone saying Tommy Fury's a fighting man. He's from a fighting family, blah, blah, blah. It's all in the blood. You simply can't lose to a YouTuber, etc., etc., etc. I do think Jake Paul, deserves credit. I've said it many times before on the show. He's a guy that doesn't need to fight at all to make money. The guy, doesn't need to do anything at all to make money. He's an internet sensation. He's a superstar in his own field, in his own right. Credit to him, though, obviously, for taking to the sport of boxing, for falling in love with it, and for training his backside off for all this entire time. And he's been training hard. He has probably been training much harder than Tommy Fury has in the last 3 years, I'd go as far to say. But will it be enough? I don't know. I've heard lots and lots of things about Tommy Fury over the years. Most of it is behind the scenes stuff, behind the gym doors type of stuff, because we haven't seen him really, in with anyone notable at all as a pro. And also, he's never been as far as 8 rounds. The most he's done was 6 rounds, which was just under a year ago. That was the first time he's done 6. Other than that, he's done 4 rounds twice or 3 times. Jake Paul as well, went 8 rounds for the first time, or for the second time in his last fight, when he obviously beat Anderson Silva. 2 fights before that as well, went the distance with Tyrone Woodley. But yeah, in terms of doing the rounds, Jake Paul has actually got more rounds in as well as a pro. He's done 26 rounds. Tommy Fury has done 24 rounds in 2 more fights. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of tangibles here, man. There really, really are. The one thing I feel like I'd be quite confident in saying, though, is that I don't see this fight going 8 rounds. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to leave it there. Eddie, I'm going to come to you for not only your breakdown, but also your prediction.
Wow, you going to get the prediction too, huh?
We need it.
Well, this is a situation. I've trained with Tommy Fury, but at the time I was training with him, he was an amateur. He was just getting started. He was a young kid, showed promise. He's my size then, big kid. I forget how old he was at the time. But he was young. Something like that, yeah. And he was like my size already. But I guess he didn't get that much bigger. But anyway. But he showed promise. He was strong, had good physique on him at the time. He was training with us. So, it was hard training all the time, when he was a part of it. And, he was around Tyson. He was around us. So, he got a good start to it. I don't know in recent years. I haven't been around him. He's been like a TV star, and a lot of those things happen. And, sometimes when that type of stuff happens, you kind of get caught up in that. You know what I'm saying? You get caught up in that life, and the boxing thing kind of takes a little bit of a back seat, especially when that's paying you more than boxing is, which is obviously the case. But then, you look on the other side, and you see Jake Paul, who has money, doesn't need, like you said, doesn't need boxing or whatever, but for some reason just has a desire to be it, wants to be it, loves it, can't think of nothing else. And then, then you see the success he's having and fighting guys that, don't get me wrong, most aren't fighters, boxers at least. There may be fighters in other disciplines, but they're not boxers. But even that, with Anderson Silva being actually pretty damn good at it, and then Jake Paul ended up winning that fight and dropping him and things like that, even though it's a 47-year-old Anderson Silva at the time, it does show that his desire to be a fighter, his desire to really take boxing to another level, is really, really there. Like, he's really, really interested in it. And he's focused on that. And, different people, that I've talked to, made me realize, you get your little bit of hateration in your body, if that is even a word, when you think of a guy who hasn't fought his whole life like I have, and then you look at it and like, how the hell has this guy got all this press and all this media and all this crap behind him, and he ain't even really no pro and all that, then you start thinking, but then you look at how much he's done in boxing, and even to help boxing kind of be brought to the forefront and get more interest than it has in a while. And then even women's boxing, he's been kind of helping promote that. You got to give the guy credit. He's been doing some good things, for the sport, and he's really taking it seriously. So now it's like we got to look at Tommy. Like I said, Tommy's been doing this since he was a kid, even though he got started at a good time when he was a kid. I think 12 or whatever years old, or I don't even really remember. But he's been doing it, so he has a leg up. But he still has to take it serious. He can't just get in there and think, just because I've been boxing since I was young and I'm fighting this guy who is a YouTuber, that I'm just gonna win just by default because I'm Tyson Fury's little brother. No, that don't mean nothing when you get in between those ropes. Even the fact that he's a YouTuber doesn't mean anything, because he's really coming in there to win the fight. He's coming in there to try to get that world ranking. I think it's crazy that they're even talking about ranking him, but whatever. He's really cut, but that's what he's coming for. So if Tommy's not taking it as serious as he needs to take it, he's going to fuck around and get beat. And I don't want to see that. I want to see Tommy Fury do what he's supposed to do as a fighter that's been doing it since he was a kid. I want to see him prove that Jake Paul is still got a lot to learn. But at the same time, I do like what I see from Jake Paul. I like the desire to be a fighter, the love for the sport, and that he respects the sport by putting the effort that he does into it. But you're going to make me go out on a limb and pick here, Joe. I'm going to say, and I got to go with Tommy. I got to say Tommy by decision. How about that? Is that good enough for you, Joe? Tommy by decision, is that fine? Is that okay?
Yeah, anything's fine. I mean, Tommy by decision, I think, is, with the bookies, the most unlikely outcome. I believe it's 5 to 1. Yep, 5 to 1.
Well, hey, you know, I might put a bet on that. I'm gonna put and you know, I never bet, but I might put a bet on that. And I might be wrong. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm betting with my heart and what I hope happens. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm just gonna say, even though it's an 8-rounder, neither one of them. Wait, no, Jake Paul has been 8, I think, twice, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Tommy hasn't been 8 yet. But hey, I think this is gonna be the first time he's gonna go 8, and he's gonna get the decision. Okay, but maybe not. Maybe not. Yeah, you know what? I think now that I'm thinking about this, him get a decision. Yeah, that's kind of like it. You know what? The hell with it. I'm going with it anyway. That's what I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go against the grain this time, Joe. Tommy by decision. How about that?
Tommy by decision. Like I say, the most expected outcome is Jake Paul decision, then Jake Paul knockout, then Fury knockout, then Fury points. So yeah, I think we're going to see a knockout anyway. I don't really see it going 8 rounds. There's a lot of pressure on Tommy's shoulders here as well, which is something that his brother Tyson is able to deal with, like, inhumanely. Like, you know, he's had the pressure on him when he's boxed Deontay Wilder, you know, knowing that you cannot lapse in concentration for a second, having his wife and kids ringside as well. That's got to be a massive distraction, walking out in front of, you know, a whole packed out arena in America full of guys that want to see you lose, and he is able to deal with it like I've never seen before. You know, he did the same when he boxed Klitschko in Germany. He's got something very, very special, and if Tommy Fury has that, then you know, I wouldn't be too worried. But I mean, this is serious pressure here. You know, he's got a lot of pressure from the boxing community, from his family and stuff. You know, they've joked and said if he loses, he's got to change his surname. He's not a Fury. They're going to leave him in Saudi. Things like this. I know it's only fun and games, but you know, there's a lot of pressure on him to deliver here, and I think that we're going to see fireworks early. I'd be very stunned if Tommy Fury sits back and tries to box him. I think it's going to be like bombs from the first bell, because I think there's a lot of pressure on him, and like I say, he's going to be nervous, I think, walking out to that ring, and he's going to want to get it over and done with ASAP. And yeah, you know, I think it's I don't think Jake has really got the boxing ability to kind of to stay away as well. I think it's going to be, they're going to both engage very, very early, and yeah, I doubt we're going to see 2 guys standing at the end of 8 rounds, especially when Tommy hasn't been there and Jake hasn't fought a fighter with the capabilities really of Tommy Fury to 8 rounds. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting, and we're all going to be tuning in whether we like it or not. It's definitely captured the imagination of all of us, the imagination of all of us, and the YouTube world. I'm sure there's going to be serious eyeballs on the event, which will be live on BT Sport. I'm going to have to stream it somehow. Anyway, that is it though for this episode. That's pretty much everything. In part 1, we did the review part, and we welcomed our special guest, former WBO Super-Bantamweight World Champion Isaac Dogboe. Always great to hear from him. And in part 2, we did the news part, and I've just wrapped up there with the preview part. The final thing for me to do is to come in with the outro, which I'll do in just a few seconds. Okay, and this wraps up episode 384 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Eddie Chambers has been with me for the duration of the show. A huge thank you to this week's special guest, the former WBO Super-Bantamweight World Champion, Mr. Isaac Dogboe. The biggest thanks of all, though, goes out to you, the listeners. Remember to visit manscaped.com and use the promo code BOXHARD for 20% off plus free shipping on all Manscaped products. If we get enough people getting onto Manscaped, buying things, we're going to do a cash giveaway actually. So if you happen to place an order with them, please screenshot it, send it to myself already on Twitter or Instagram, and we will, if there's enough orders, put a few names in a hat and pull out a winner to win a cash prize. Depending on how many orders we get, that's going to determine what the prize will be. But that's something to think about if you're interested in that. But that's about everything from myself. Enjoy your weekends, people. Stay safe, and we shall see you all again next week.